I am kind of running out of things to say, and I can't be reading Mein Kampf every single video. Hence, I've decided to read um, another book. The name is called Communist Manifesto, and famously written by Karl Marx. Karl Marx is relatively well known, but another person, the co-writer, is Friedrich Engels, right? The co-conspirator of Karl Marx, and rumors said that basically Engels funded and supported Karl Marx for Karl Marx's entire life, because Marx wasn't working, yeah. And actually, this book is probably as outlandish. First of all, it's not a book. It is a pamphlet. It's rather short. I think about 40 to 50 pages. Because just like in normal days, when if you run for office as a politician, you will write some manifesto. It wouldn't be too long, right? Likewise, for Marx, he wrote this 40 to 50 page manifesto in 1848, and so this book is probably as outrageous as Mein Kampf, and uh, um, and Mein Kampf, of course, Mein Kampf represents Nazism, not German Nazi. It represents the epitome of a right wing, extremely racist, superiority of certain race, the German people, and then you want to carry out genocide to kill other races. That is basically the idea of right wing, and this Communist Manifesto shall represent the extreme left, the world, a world where it envisions a world where there is it is a it envisions a world where it is egalitarian, absolute equality. No one is richer than others. No one is more powerful than others. However, this book happens to be outlandish as Mein Kampf. The reason Mein Kampf and Adolf Hitler uh, are known as outrageous today is because the German Nazi, did too many inhumane things, the Holocaust, World War, those kind of things. So Nazi basically employed violence to achieve their goals. But likewise, curiously enough, the Communist Manifesto, which was originally meant to help poor people, help working classes to achieve equality, it was supposed to be a noble aim. However, the eventual fate of communism uh, happened to be almost exactly the same as German Nazi. The similarity is that this extreme communists, they also employ violence in order to achieve their goals, and hence today communism is largely being detested, largely being abhorred in most countries, just like Nazism is being detested in most countries. They have the equal status of being hated, being extreme. So let's try to read. And just like Mein Kampf was written in German and translated into English. This Communist Manifesto was also written in German in the first place, since Marx was a German, and is translated to English. And I beg your pardon if certain words in German I don't know how to pronounce them. I will just botch the pronunciation. So let's start. I'll skip the preface. Uh, if it is relevant after reading the entire pamphlet, I will go back to the preface. So I'll start with the first page. The Manifesto of the Communist Party. A spectre is haunting Europe, the spectre of communism. All the powers of old Europe have entered into a holy alliance to exorcise this spectre. Pope and Caesar, Metternich and Guizot, French radicals and German police spies. Where is the party in opposition that has not been decried as communistic by its opponents in power? Where the opposition that has not held back the branding reproach of communism against the more advanced opposition parties, as well as against its reactionary adversaries? Two things result from this fact. Number one, communism is already acknowledged by all European powers to be itself a power. Number two, it is high time that communists should openly, in the face of the whole world, publish their views, their aims, their tendencies, and meet this nursery tale of the spectre of communism with a manifesto of the party itself. To this end, communists of various nationalities have assembled in London and sketched the following manifesto to be published in the English, French, German, Italian, Flemish, and Danish languages. So this is basically the preamble of the entire manifesto. Well, I must say that aside from this communist manifesto, after writing this manifesto, 20 years later he wrote his magnum opus. The name is called Das Kapital. Maybe that book is way more relevant because I foresee this manifesto to be somewhat short. The prose is not too expensive, and also it might feel like very dry writing, just like when you read constitution or certain legal acts, right? They appear to be very mundane and hard to read. I'm afraid this manifesto is the same. If if I find that this manifesto is very dry, I might skip to Das Kapital later on. So let's continue reading. After this preamble, now the first one, chapter 1, bourgeois and proletarians. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles, freeman and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, guild master and journeyman, in a word, oppressor and oppressed, stood in constant opposition to one another, carry on an uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight, a fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstitution of society at large or in the common ruin of the contending classes. In the earlier epochs of history, we find almost everywhere a complicated arrangement of society into various orders, a manifold gradation of social rank. In ancient Rome, we have patricians, knights, plebeians, slaves. In the Middle Ages, feudal lords, vassals, guild masters, journeymen, apprentices, serfs. In almost all of these classes, again, subordinate gradations. The modern bourgeois society that has sprouted from the ruins of feudal society has not done away with class and antagonism. It has but established new classes, new conditions of oppression, new forms of struggle in place of the old ones. Our epoch, the epoch of the bourgeoisie, possesses, however, this distinctive feature. It has simplified the class antagonisms. Society as a whole is more and more splitting up into two great hostile camps, into two great classes directly facing each other, bourgeoisie and proletariat. From the serfs of the Middle Ages sprang the chartered burghers of the earliest towns. From these burgesses, the first elements of the bourgeoisie were developed. The discovery of America, the rounding of the Cape, opened up fresh ground for the rising bourgeoisie. The East Indian and Chinese markets, the colonization of America, trade with the colonies, the increase in the means of exchange and in commodities generally, gave to commerce, to navigation, to industry, an impulse never before known, and thereby to the revolutionary element in the tottering feudal society a rapid development. The feudal system of industry under which industrial production was monopolized by closed guilds, now no longer sufficed for the growing wants of the new markets. The manufacturing system took its place. The guild masters were pushed on one side by the manufacturing middle class. Division of labor Division of labor between the different corporate guilds vanished in the face of division of labor in each single workshop. Meantime, the markets kept ever growing, the demand ever rising. Even manufacture no longer sufficed. Thereupon, steam and machinery revolutionized industrial production. The place of manufacture was taken by the giant modern industry, the place of the industrial middle class by industrial millionaires, the leaders of whole industrial armies, the modern bourgeois. Modern industry has established the world market for which the discovery of America paved the way. The market has given an immense development to commerce, to navigation, to communication by land. This development has in its turn reacted on the extension of industry, and in proportion as industry, commerce, navigation, railways extended, in the same proportion the bourgeoisie developed, increased in its capital, and pushed into the background every class handed down from the Middle Ages. We see, therefore, how the modern bourgeoisie is itself the product of a long course of development, of a series of revolutions in the modes of production and of exchange. Each step in the development of the bourgeoisie was accompanied by a corresponding political advance of that class, an oppressed class under the sway of the feudal nobility, an armed and self-governing association an armed and self-governing association in the medieval commune. Here independent urban republic, as in Italy and Germany, there taxable third estate of the monarchy, as in France, afterwards in the period of manufacture proper, serving either the semi-feudal or the absolute monarchy as a counterpoise against the nobility, and in fact, cornerstone of the great monarchies in general. The bourgeoisie has at last, since the establishment of modern industry and of the world market, conquered for itself in the modern representative state exclusive political sway. The executive of the modern state is but a committee for managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie historically has played a most revolutionary part. The bourgeoisie, wherever it has got the upper hand, has put an end to all feudal, patriarchal, idyllic relations. It has pitilessly torn asunder the motley feudal ties. It has pitilessly torn asunder the motley feudal ties that bound man to his natural superiors, and has left remaining no other nexus between man and man than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. It has drowned the most heavenly ecstasies of religious fervor, of chivalrous enthusiasm, of Philistine sentimentalism, in the icy water of egoistical calculation. It has resolved personal worth into exchange value, and in place of the numberless indivisible chartered freedoms, has set up that single unconscionable freedom, free trade, in one word, for exploitation veiled by religious and political illusions. It has substituted naked, shameless, direct, brutal exploitation. The bourgeoisie has stripped off its halo every occupation hitherto honored and looked up to with reverent awe. It has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, the poet, the man of science into its paid wage laborers. The bourgeoisie has torn away from the family its sentimental veil. Okay, I'll stop here temporarily. Just continue. So now generally, the first chapter is just merely discussing how bourgeoisie replaced the previous era, previous century. It was highly religious, but now become highly economical. So see you. Goodbye.